he had that skill to put things in words that everyone can relate to. Like he was very descriptive in a certain way, and it was always multi purpose. There were other layers to his observations.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
There he is, the legend himself. Alex, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's good to talk to you, especially since I talked about this the other day. The only time I've ever met you was at a Rush meet and greet. I want to say around 2012 or so. And out of all the things you've done in your life, I said I loved you in the Trailer Park Boys. So I get to make that up today, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, you play in a band for 40 years. You have all these gold records and platinum records, but just do a little show like that, and that's what you're known for. I get asked that more than anything. Hey, you're the guy from Trailer Park Boys, aren't you? Yes, that's me.
That is hysterical. Of course, those guys are big Rush fans and stuff. How did you end up getting on that show? I mean, obviously they probably just asked or something, but Bubbles has played with you guys and all sorts of stuff, right?
Well, it was a friend of a friend was on the production team for them, and they thought, wouldn't it be cool if we got Rush to be on an episode? Getty and Neil weren't really interested, but I'd watch the show. My wife said, you should check out the show because it's right up your alley. You'll really like it. And to be honest, so the first 10 minutes I watched the first show, I think I've watched the movie, the original movie. I was like, I don't know about this. This is weird. But by the time it ended, I was like so into it because it's all about their brotherhood. It's all about helping each other. At the end of the day, there's all this insanity, but they're always there for each other. And it's very endearing. And that's when I fell in love with it. And I reached out to them and said, hey, if you guys want, I'd be happy to do something. And they were like, yeah, come out, do it. And now what I think I've done over the years, probably 10 episodes from different seasons and a couple of movies.
Yeah, no, that's great. So now 13 years later or whatever it is, I can ask you some other questions outside of Trailer Park Boys. So I've had my chance. This is my chance to redeem myself. But Envy of None is out right now. I guess on to the first serious question. Is Andy Curran the second greatest bass player you've ever played with?
Well, he's definitely the second one.
He actually asked me to ask you that one.
Yeah, I imagine. Andy's a great player. He's been around a long, long, long time. He's got a great pedigree to him.
Yeah, it's great. I grew up outside of Western New York, and so Coney Hatch and all that stuff was in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So nothing sounds like monkey bars on Envy of None. So how would you describe this project to somebody that's never heard it?
Well, I would say that if you were to describe the music, it's very cinematic. It's kind of trippy. It's funky. It's deep. It's dark. It's heavy at times. But more than anything, it's Maya's voice that makes it. Maya's voice is amazing. I'm just every minute of the day I'm blown away by how awesome she is, and how she when you're working with a vocalist, a lot of times you get 4 or 5 tracks vocals, the main vocal, a double, and then some harmony stuff. She submits 25, 26 tracks. Everything's completed, all the reverbs are on, everything is the way she hears it in her head, and it's uncanny. She's young, and but she has this incredible skill and talent. It's we're lucky to have her.
Now, not all the songs have solos. What is your I don't know. Do you have like a rule or an unwritten rule on solos? Just if it feels right, if it doesn't feel right, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I've avoided solos in the last number of years. Even towards the end of the Rush recording period, I was playing less solos, and I just I got away from it because I didn't want them to be, flashy or some sort of moment where you're supposed to show your skills or something. I think a solo really has to have an integral part to the song. It has to have a purpose in the song. And a solo like the solo that's in The Story, for example, that solo, it ramps, it gently builds up to a crescendo, And then when it ends, that's when Maya comes back in and the whole track picks up and delivers the message. So the solo sets that up, and that's the way I like to think of it. Then it's doing a job that's important to the song because it's always in service of the song to make the song better.
Now, with this project or with Rush, were there some songs where they didn't have solos and you put one in and it sounded better, or you take a solo out maybe to complete the song?
Yeah, thinking back, I think they were always an integral part of the song. I mean, that's been my approach to soloing and my thoughts on it. I mean, you can go on Instagram and you can see a million people play guitar like I've never heard it played before. It's almost like in sports, everything gets faster and better, and there are so many amazing players, but it's all kind of showy. Look what I can do. And I think guitarists are kind of infected with that virus anyways. There's an old joke about how many guitarists does it take to screw in a light bulb, and you say six, one to actually screw it in, and five to say, oh yeah, I can do that. So that's the kind of mentality that guitarists have. And I guess that maybe as I've gotten older, it's really important to me to be part of the whole unit and not stand out. But with my past coming from Rush, there was that issue in the beginning that anything that I did or this project would be, compared to Rush, and it's nothing to do with Rush at all, or Coney Hatch, as you mentioned. This is a fresh new thing.
Yeah. I just talked to Ted Nugent last week, and we were talking about the song Stranglehold, and he was talking about the guitar solos in that one and the guitar solo, and he said it was not about the notes I played, but about the notes I didn't play. And I hear that sometimes from guys, especially when they play with a lot of feel.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes it's too many notes. Believe me, I know what that's like.
Yeah. And on this record, on the title track, Andy told me you played an instrument called I'm going to screw this up, an oud.
Yes, correct.
And so tell us about that. What is that all about?
The oud is a lute-related instrument in its pedigree. It's a Middle Eastern instrument, so it's common from throughout the Middle East, from Iraq to Turkey to even in Iran, and it's a multi-stringed instrument. I believe it's 11 strings, and it's got a particular tone to it that it's fretless, so it has a very exotic flavor to it. And I thought for that track, it just fit in there perfectly as something different and fresh and international.
Yeah, that always reminded me of the George Harrison track on Sergeant Pepper's. Did he play something similar to that? I'm assuming. I don't know.
Well, he played a sitar, which is an Indian instrument, but yeah, multi-stringed, and it has that really exotic sound to it.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun in Western music.
Yeah. So Envy of None is out right now, and you can get that, of course. Also, the making 50 years of the band with the Rush 50 is out right now as well. There's a lot of Rush material out there, isn't there?
There is. That 50 anniversary package is quite remarkable. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's stuff in there that I didn't even know we had. So
I was going to say, when I just talked to Nugent last week, his drummer discovered all this he did this stuff that just Ted forgot, tapes and do you guys have a bunch of that stuff laying around anywhere?
We never recorded more than we wanted to put on the record, so we always focused what was going on the record. But obviously there are things here and there, little bits and pieces that were lying around, outtakes of things, and those original singles from pre-Neil, like Not Fade Away and Can't Fight It on those early singles. So it's kind of fun. It really covers the whole 50 years plus.
Yeah, that's interesting. So when you guys recorded records, you guys went in with a clean slate and you just used what you had, and there was never any like overlap, and then you used it on the next album or nothing?
No, we never did that. We would go in and we would write the record and record it, and that was it.
Oh, no kidding. So you mentioned the time before Neil. I've always been fascinated by this. I read Ghost Rider and stuff. Neil's, such a prolific writer, obviously a player like that. But what was it like to work with a guy like Neil from a lyrical standpoint and a song creating standpoint?
Neil was amazing to work with. He was very, very bright, very, very intelligent. He was a great observer of things, and he had that skill or that ability or whatever you want to call it, talent to put things in words that everyone can relate to. Like he was very descriptive in a certain way that you could immediately relate to what it is that he's talking about, and it was always multi-purpose. There were other other layers to his observations. As a drummer, he was amazing. I mean, I was lucky to stand in front of him for 40 years, and I can tell you that that guy could play like no one else could.
Yeah. In 2015, you guys played your last show. Did you know it was your last show?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of, sort of along the same lines, I guess, of a Gord Downey.
Um, well, when we played the last show, Neil was done with touring. He just doesn't want to tour anymore. He felt like he was not able to play 100%. It was getting more difficult playing a 3-hour set the way he played. Yeah, I get it for sure. And he was just tired of it. And in his mind that was it. So we did that last show, and Ged and I felt probably like it wasn't quite over for us. We still had gas in the tank, but what are you going to do? We fully understood what Neil was on about. If he couldn't play 100%, it just wasn't worth it to him to play. So that was it. And I remember the gig, and I remembered the forum and looking at the wall, at the clock on the back wall that I saw, 23 other times that we played there. And I looked at faces that, I knew I wouldn't see again, that followed us for decades. And it was a very, very powerful moment. Yeah, it was quite sad, really.
Yeah. Did you see that last Tragically Hip concert?
The actual concert?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't. No, I wasn't there. No.
I've talked to a lot of guys that were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, did you know Gord at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we knew those guys well. My Victor album, I approached Gord to be the vocalist on it. And then we went over the material and we talked about it, and we realized that it really wasn't quite right. And his voice actually wasn't the right kind of voice for the project. I just wanted to work with him because I really liked the guy.
Yeah.
And he was a great person to work with, but we didn't. But we were friends, and it's uncanny that both Neil and him would succumb to the same illness.
Yeah. I was just looking up some stuff on you today. It's so great because you guys were really like Motley Crue always talks about how like they're a gang and stuff, but you guys were like, it was pretty much just you three guys there after when Neil joined the band and whatnot. But you've known Geddy since 1968. I don't think I realized that.
Yeah, a little earlier than that because we were in
Okay.
high school. We were in junior high school together. So I think we've known each other since 1965, in
Mm.
fact. So we've been best friends for all those years. I had dinner with him the other night. We had some friends in town that were touring with another band, tech guys. We had a lovely dinner together, all three of us. I'm going to go over to his place today. We're going to drink coffee and talk and shoot the crap. Like he's my best bud, and we all have best buds that you like to hang around with and do stuff with. And I just happen to be, playing in a band with my best bud for 40 years. So it's a little outside, I guess. But yeah, we're very, very good friends.
Yeah, that's great to hear because you hear about all these bands. You've heard all this
Yeah.
stuff. But one of my friends said something to me interesting, and you probably heard this. But he's like, it'd be cool to see if they went out and did like a storyteller song thing with just the two of them and stuff. You've probably been approached with all sorts of ideas.
Yes, many, many, many. When Ged was on his book tour for My F in Life, I did the Toronto show, and I also did London and Portsmouth in the UK. And it was it was basically sitting on a couch and just talking. And the great thing, the Toronto show, the first one that he did, we just sat and we talked as if we were, in his living room, sitting on a couch and talking and just goofing around and laughing. And that's our life together, is goofing around and laughing. So yeah, that's probably, that could probably be a fun thing to do, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, goofing around and laughing, but also you've created this just this army of fans. And there are a few bands that I've played over my 35-year career that have an army of fans like yours, Kiss guys, the Pantera, but the Rush fans, man, they're always there, thick or thin, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. Yeah, it's a very special relationship we have with Rush fans, and I gotta say, Rush fans are really on top of their game. They're not easy to please, and they'll be vocal if they don't like something or they think you haven't done something right, or which is great because you want that feedback. You want people to know. At the end of the day, it's what you do that counts. That has to be honest, who you are. But to get that kind of response from someone that cares enough about what you're doing to want it to be better, in their mind, anyways. Wow, that's you know that's just the best, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, going into any project or something, it must be in the back of your mind, man. What will the Rush fans think? But like you said, you got to please yourself first.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Rush fans, I remember I interviewed Paul Rudd and Jason Segel back in 2009 when "I Love You, Man" came out. So it was really cool. I got to take a couple listeners in New York City. We saw it before it hit the big screen and whatnot. And Paul Rudd told me this story. I will never forget. You can tell me if he kind of made it up or whatever, but he told me that he talked to you guys about the scene you guys were in, and he said something along the lines that him and Jason were going to be sitting there with their arms folded, and they were going to be mad at each other, but they loved the band, but they're going to be watching the band with their arms folded. And he said, Getty said, "Oh, like every Rush concert ever."
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate.
I mean, Trailer Park Boys is one thing for Canadian TV, but now you're on a movie that goes around the entire world. Tell me about that.
Oh, that was so much fun. We were playing in LA. First, they reached out to our management about using Limelight and to get syncing rights and all of that stuff. And they weren't sure if we would go along with it. They thought we probably weren't that keen on being in a comedy. We got the proposal. We were like, yes, this is awesome. We love those guys. Yeah, for sure, we'll do it. And then once things started rolling, we were doing 2 shows in LA at the Forum in LA, and we had a day off in between. So the one night we played, struck the stage, took all the gear down, went to the filming location, set the gear up, and then we were there from 11 in the morning till 11 at night, shooting the whole day. You do different angles, and they got to get a big crowd in there, and it's lots of time in between takes and all of that stuff. But I got to say, there was a time, and we were playing Limelight, and it was the recording we did the night before. So it was a very fresh recording that we synced to play, obviously for convenience. But there were times where we had our heads down and playing because we were laughing so hard. We could just see the 2 of them out there doing the most insane things, and Rashida was out there, shaking her head, and then afterwards they were in stitches. They were just having such a riot doing the whole thing. And she's a gem. She's a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah, I got a chance to meet her that time too as well.
Yeah.
So man, she comes from a lineage, and then Jamie Price
Yes.
too. But so in that Funny or Die skit, were you guys actually in the room with them to do that?
The Funny or Die?
Yeah, with the one where they were backstage eating.
Oh, in our dressing room.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was their idea.
Okay.
Well, we wanted to do something special that we could do for a video, and we didn't know how to reprise the "I Love You, Man" thing. And they suggested, well, why don't we come in your dressing room, and we're in there and we're just checking things out, and then you guys come in and we'll riff it from there. And those guys are such pros. There were times where they came up with ideas that we were in tears. We were laughing so hard.
That's great.
Like there's one great one where Paul suggested, like, Neil's last name's always mispronounced.
Right.
So they're going to do it. The one where he says Neil Peart, and he says, no, it's pronounced Peart. and Paul goes, really? Are you sure? Really? It was like perfect.
That is hysterical because I've actually walked down the hallways here at the station. It's Peart because I grew up in Buffalo, and now I live here in Detroit half my life. It's like Yeah, that always, it's spelled Pert, but it's pronounced Peart. That never made much sense to me, but I guess Neil can call himself whatever, the professor. He can call himself whatever he
Yeah.
wanted. So that's great. Well, Envy of None is out right now. I won't take up too much more of your time, but I appreciate Alex all the years of man. I wish I had $1 for every Rush song I played on the radio in the past 35 years.
Me too.
You have $1 for every Rush song I played.
Oh yeah.
But Envy of None is out right now, and we'll see you. I don't know. You going to go on tour with this, or
We'll see. You know, if the reaction is great for the record and there's an audience that could support us playing, you know, a dozen shows or something, yeah, we would love to. I mean, I've already got the guys in my mind that I'd like to ask along to play just to make it 2 hours of unbelievable music. And I think it would be a terrific show. We just need to have the support so that we could afford to actually do something like that.
do you miss playing live?
Well, I do things once in a while. You know, I do the Andy Kim Christmas show this year. This last one, I played with everybody that was playing that night. So I got to play with lots of people. I do other little gigs whenever I can. They come up. This local stuff that's small and under the radar, which is the way I like it.
Mm.
Do I miss the big stage? I don't know. It's been 10 years since I've been on a big stage. So far, I don't. You know, I've been so busy with so many other things, a lot of recording projects and working with other people. And I'm in a really great place in my life right now. You know, came out of retirement, boring, and then got back into the swing of things with Envy of None and these other projects. So I'm just a happy musician at this point.
Alex, it's great to touch base with you, and I'm glad we got to talk about more than Trailer Park Boys.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.